So thank you so much, my fellow Rotarians. I have to say I was really, even more than speaking today, looking forward to becoming a blue badge today, and I think we forgot. So I'm really looking forward to next week, or actually the week after, because I'll be gone. So as Bob mentioned, I'm the executive director at CMAP. I've had the privilege of leading this organization for the last 6 years. It's a wonderful team and a group of volunteers and donors and board of directors. I'm very grateful for the amount of support that we've had in the community by many, many, many of you in this room as well. In fact, how many of you have been a board member at CMAP? Anyone? Susan Hatterow. Wow, a few I didn't even know. Thank you. Shar, Jay, Chris. And then how many of you were on the board of conveners? Jay? And how many of you have been involved in some way with our organization? Could raise your hands. Been on a TV show with us? How many of you have known youth who've been involved in our programs? Great, excellent. How many of you have watched our football games? Some of you online. So how many of you think that you can call CMAP and sort of like KSBW, we come out and we cover breaking news? Does anybody think that? Excellent, you've passed my first test. And how many of you think that we're maybe just a television station, or that we are a television station? We are a television station, but we're a lot more. How many of you think you need cable television to see CMAP? Anybody? Okay, I will address that. How many of you have had us come work on a paid production for your nonprofit or organization? Excellent, thank you. So we're 12 years old this year. So we're about to bust out and do some really exciting things. So I'm going to start with this. Can you do the next slide for me? So that's actually me. I'm not sure what happened, but that's my sweet and innocent 4-year-old self. So as I've mentioned to you, I'm from Western Maine, about 45 minutes from Canada. And yes, we had 6 feet of snow. In fact, my father says we had about 200 inches. We're going to get about 200 inches of snow this winter. So how many of you had a special teacher who really believed in you, someone who saw your potential that you didn't even know was possible in yourself? Anybody? Probably a lot of us, right? Maybe that person was a teacher or a family member or a mentor or a community leader. But for me, that person was Mrs. Summers. She was my 8th grade English teacher. And I was not in the college prep classes in 8th grade. Somehow, somewhere, I'd gotten into the vocational track. And I didn't know if I was going to go to college. And Mrs. Summers saw that I had a special spark, something that was inquisitive and curious about me. And she saw that I was an avid reader because I didn't have any internet, I had no television, and I had no telephone at my house. So I read. I spent every day all summer reading and reading as much as I could capture. So she saw this about me. And she got to thinking, why is this kid not in the college prep classes? Or why, how can I engage her? So in my 250-year-old farmhouse that I grew up in, we didn't have money for a camera or for a computer. And unfortunately, there are still youth in my hometown today who don't have access to these modern-day tools. And in fact, just 30 minutes from Silicon Valley, there are kids in our community who do not have access to those tools. You may think they get it in school, but oftentimes there's 2 or 3 kids sitting at a computer in some of the schools that we've worked in fact, and they don't have that one-on-one time really learning and exploring. Many youth do not have broadband and can't watch videos online, can't do special kinds of research online, or they share one computer with many, many family members, not giving them the opportunity to really learn some of the 21st century job skills that we need in our youth and in our next workforce. So Mrs. Summers gave me this assignment. She had me read books every weekend. She gave me a stack and said, can you read these and can you bring them back to me on Monday and tell me what we should read in the class? Outside of my immediate family, no one had ever asked me, no adult had ever asked me for my opinion. And it turns out I had quite a few of them. She got me to start thinking critically and to give her feedback, specific feedback about the books. What did I like? What did I not like? And more importantly, she saw something in me that I didn't. She saw my potential, and she put me in a filmmaking program after school, a gifted and talented program, which I certainly didn't think I deserved to be in, but I did. So working with other students as a team, I learned how to shoot and edit 8mm films about our junior high school and our really exciting lives in Western Maine. And because that one teacher saw my potential to learn and create, I discovered that I was actually really technical and that I was a creative person and that I had a passion for literature and for storytelling, for media, and for filmmaking. Today, I'm very fortunate to run a community media center like CMAP that helps kids just like me here in our community to find their passion, to gain skills, to create, express themselves through media and technology, and really be inspired to find a career path. And just like me, many of them did not know that they were going to go to college or did not think they could go to college, and working with CMAP have been inspired to do so. So how many of you, go to the next slide please. How many of you think that I'm here to talk about CMAP being a TV station? Anyone? So I want to talk a little bit about youth. So there's some graphics up there and some pictures from some of the shows and programs. You can see the Garlic Festival work that we did, a class and after school summer school program that we did with youth, the football games, the high school football games that we cover, and then you see a whole bunch of social media icons over there. So while many youth know how to use these tools and they can send 144 character messages on Twitter and they can write messages on their cell phones, we think that they're tech savvy, but in many ways they're not. It's like being a driver of a car but not really understanding what's under the hood. So there's lots of things that we need to do to get kids to think critically about the messages that they're receiving in the media, and also how to think about being creators of technology. Thousands of young people in our community don't have access to these tools, but do through CMAP. And they have access to the kind of leadership development that I had as a young person, which changed the entire course of my life. So one youth I have to always tell a story about. His name has been changed, but his name, we call him Johnny. He said to us at the end of his 3 years of working with us, "CMAP saved my life. If it wasn't for CMAP, I would have ended up in a gang." And Johnny's family had several members in jail. He was the oldest kid of a single mom here in town. He got an opportunity at CMAP to see his own power through storytelling, to learn all these tools, and to be able to understand that he could do more, that he could be more, that he could achieve a lot more than he ever would have had he joined a gang. We've had youth tell us that because of feeling like part of our organization, there's a physical place at Christopher High School that they can come and feel part of that team. And a lot of those kids don't necessarily fit into these other activities in high school. I was one of those kids. I was in the AV club, and I was just enough geeky that I didn't quite fit in with the other kids. And this is a place where we really can give kids a place to come and to learn some of these career choices that are available to them. And that's why I believe in the mission of CMAP. We're not just a television station. We're not just a YouTube video or a video on Facebook or a link on Twitter. We can actually change lives through media and technology, just like Rotary does. So the next slide, just to get some of the basic bullets out of the way here. Our mission, we're a tax-deductible organization. Our mission is to facilitate community self-expression through media education, civic engagement, and public access to media and technology tools. It's kind of a mouthful. And over the last 5 years, as you can imagine, media and technology has really changed a lot. And so have our funding sources. We can go to the next slide. We are 50% funded by a cable subscriber fee. We used to be almost 100% funded by that fee. So we've had to become lean and efficient, and that's one of the reasons that we were hired by Santa Cruz to come over and run their organization. They were in trouble. They were going to lose their contract, and so a year ago we went over and we helped them to be really streamlining all of their operations. So we've implemented technology tools that help to manage operations so that we can really focus on what we love to do, and that is helping the community tell their stories. And as you can see, you don't need cable anymore. You can go online. All of our content from our 4 cable channels is available online. You can watch it all simultaneously, live streaming. We had over 3,000 hours of government meetings that we covered. I have friends who email me from Latin America and said, "This is amazing, your government meetings are on television, they're on the internet." That level of transparency doesn't exist in every community, even in this country. So we are very fortunate that we have a resource like CMAP for one of those aspects of the work that we do. We also reached over 3,000 youth in the last 5 years alone. Go to the next slide. So here's some of the programming that that really you are providing. So Susan actually has been very involved in the Ask the Mayor show that has been started up very recently. The great thing really is that anybody has a voice at CMAP. So all of these programs, these are programs the community came up with. So anyone can express themselves through these resources, from the San Benito Republican Party to the Green Committee at the San Benito Chamber to our Gilroy Mayor, Don Gage, and to GUSD, and to the youth at Christopher and Gilroy High Schools. CMAP engages the community in a dialogue about civic life through the transmissions of thousands of these hours of government meetings, and also providing access to media equipment and covering community events. We do this primarily with volunteers. We have about 3 or 4 staff, many of them are part-time, and we really are dependent on volunteers. The model that we're building at Santa Cruz, in fact, reduces staff to 2 people and a volunteer program of 40 people. We don't have as many volunteers here in Gilroy, but we'd like to get more volunteers. We do have quite a few volunteers in the sports programs. People love coming out and shooting live sports. But we are really dependent on those volunteers. So we can go to the next slide, and we're gonna show you a video here.
I serve as chair of the Charitable Giving Committee, which is a committee of the Rotary Club. And our job is every year the endowment and the club give certain amounts of money, and our charge is to give it out to the community or make a recommendation to the club to give it out. And myself and about 9 others start in August and go all the way through today, which is the end of January, in a process of soliciting applications, reviewing applications, and then also then finally deciding on which applications receive. And today we gave out 44 of the 65 applications that we got. We gave out about $45,000, which is the second most we have ever given out.
We're trying to grow that. You know, we try to encourage contributions. One of the things we're going to be working on in the future is trying to encourage people to remember the endowment in estate planning. And it'll just help with the long-term viability of the giving. And as we see, you know, with $100,000 in request, there's a great need for local giving.
The donation that we received today is going to buy supplies and equipment for the center as we support our military student veterans who are transitioning to civilian life and academic life, and overall will support their success as students and future leaders of this community. So thank you so much, Gilroy Rotary.
We're just honored to be able to do this. This is one of the things that makes up a Rotary Club of any community, is to give back, and this is a small way of our ability to give back.
I want to give credit and kudos to Jeremy Whalen, who is our new director of production and content. He's actually working, He's actually been working at both facilities, both Santa Cruz and Gilroy, so he's part-time at each of the organizations. So, you know, one of the things that we've created are school programs and summer camps to train youth on how to create their own mobile phone applications. So it's not, media is so inclusive of so many things these days. We taught them last summer how to write scripts, how to frame a message, how to communicate to the adult world. A lot of these kids have never called folks like you and said, can you come be on a TV show? And so that practice of calling, of scheduling, of doing pre-production work is really good for them to develop leadership skills and skills that are going to help them in future careers. We also teach them things like how to light and shoot and edit public service-oriented videos for online and film festival distribution. And in fact, I'm very proud, a few years back, one of our youth programs was one of the 4 top finalists in the country for the Dr. Phil Show's contest for a video that they created about anti-dating violence. And we had the support and help of the Gilroy Police Department and had the kid, behind bars talking about how his life could have been different had he had made different decisions. And we were number 4. And by the YouTube votes, we thought probably we're really number 2, but we weren't chosen as the final. But I mean, how neat for these kids to feel like something they created, a message for their peers that was done very professionally, was really recognized at the national level. These youth really need what CMAP provides. One of the youth in our program said that she felt like her work at CMAP was like a movie that they get to edit about their lives, their community, using their own voices. So how empowering to our youth to be able to create that movie about who they are and what's important to them, and to do it in a professional way that's very positive and shows them that they have a role to play in our community. A lot of times all you hear about youth is very negative in the news. And for our youth, this is an opportunity for them to really talk about what's important for them and what's true for them. So one of the things I want to just touch on before I close is we unfortunately are in an industry that, because of cable subscriptions declining and folks going to the internet to watch video, we are losing our traditional sources of funding. Community television, community media centers like ours, we're only 12 years old, but most in the country are between 15 and 25 years old. And those stations around the country have been impacted by the cable companies going to Congress and passing legislation that takes away the fees that are coming to our local municipalities. And unfortunately, this has affected 23 states in the country, and California is one of them. We're the least worst affected state, but we are affected nonetheless. We are unable to spend the funds that we receive for operating uses. Now you can imagine we can have capital purchases that look beautiful. We have a great studio and all this new equipment, but if we don't have staff that can actually train people that can work with our youth programs, if we can't fund those programs, it makes it very difficult for us to continue doing business. So we're looking at other threats. One of the reasons I'm going to be in DC next week, and we'll miss all of you on Tuesday, going to the National Technology Education Network Conference to speak, and I'll also be going to Capitol Hill and be talking about why these community media resources are important to our communities and why the cable companies should continue to meet their obligations to local organizations, because they're using our public right-of-way and space that we as the public own. I think for CMAP, I think we really are trying to come up with a long-term sustainability plan for our funding. And one of the things that we do is we charge now for a lot of the services we used to offer for free. We're very low cost, but we have had to charge paid production services. And I'm so grateful that so many of you in this room, in fact, have hired us, have really taken a risk in us, and that you've really been appreciative and that we met your needs as clients. And we hope to do more and more of that as we move forward in coming up with our own funding sources. So in closing, for me, if I can provide the opportunity for just one person, just one young person, to have the kind of impact that Mrs. Summers had on my life, that would be the legacy that I want to leave in my position and in our community. And I know all of you in Rotary share that with me. You share that care and concern for young people and for the future of our communities. So I invite each of you to join me in creating that legacy in whatever way you choose to, and making a difference for our youth and our community, and giving them access to media, technology, and information that will make us competitive in a new world. To give them hope and skills and confidence like Mrs. Summers gave me. To have many adventures, to keep learning, and to share the stories of our communities and the stories of the world. So I hope you'll join us in capturing some of the stories. I want to encourage you to, we can go to the next slide, which we'll skip the other one there. One more. I want to encourage you to get involved. So we didn't have time, but I do a digital storytelling class, and I love genealogy, as you probably have noticed. I have some family history that I enjoy telling stories about, and I bet you do too. So one of the things that we can do is teach you how to write a script for and collect all your photographs of your family, 1 minute piece that you can give them for Christmas or holidays, or just for preserving your family history. We can help you do that. You can also come in and create your own television show. You can volunteer with us one time only if you want. You can send your young people to become interns or volunteers with us. You can hire us, obviously, to do production work. Or you can come do a tour of our facilities at Christopher High. We're very excited about, we're only 1 year into our partnership with Christopher High. I don't see Don here, but I do want to thank Don and Karen Christopher for their support. They helped us to build the facility at Christopher High, and it's a beautiful studio, so please come by or please get in touch with me about how you can come do a tour at our facility. And you certainly can support us. We are tax deductible, and we have lots of underwriting opportunities. We do have now about 25,000 subscribers. We used to only have 13, and now we have both cable viewers on AT&T Uverse down in Hollister. So we have about 25,000 subscribers now, plus lots of web traffic, and we get a lot of coverage, a lot of people looking when the budget hearings come up, of course, with the government. So I want to open it up to questions and encourage you to get involved with CMAP, and thanks so much for your support.